Let's see, let's see, let's see. What do we have? And what do we have here? Okay, guys, let me see if I can just adjust here. Let's see if I can adjust. See, 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 see. All right, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. Yes, and yes, and yes, and yes. All right. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Let's get our theme music. Got some theme music this morning. Let's turn that off. All right. Let's see here. Let's see. Here we go. Okay, we did it. All right. Now, yay. Okay, guys. All right. I finally figured it out on that side. Now, let me get the other part together. And now, let me get the other part together. Here we go. Yes, 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 yes. You like the theme music, but we don't really have theme music. But thank you for letting me know you like it. All right, I like that. I like that you like it. Yes, okay. As we get into it. Yes, I got show notes. Hmm. So we'll get those together. Let me see. We are going to go ahead and pin a few things and then get the conversation started. Yes, all right. Hey, Cross. How are ya? Yes, okay, so let's have that in the background. I'll try to do like a dual screen, a triple screen type of a situation. That's not gonna work. That's gonna fall. If I put it up there, it's gonna fall. And I don't have my stand down here. All right, we're still getting it together. I can't leave it there. All right, I'm gonna just have to leave it flat like this, and I'll just have to keep checking my notes. Okay, so the first thing is the greeting. We already talked about for the greeting, making sure that we honor the fact that this technology allows us to watch in the future something that already happened and also to be present. So you can't say good morning. You want to say good morning, but people may be time zone. And then because this is being broadcast somewhere else, when they play back the video, it could be that they are in the past. I am in the past. We are in the past. Those of us that are live in the experience. All right. So it's a thing. So just greetings, which is my real email signature. I always have a feeling that people think it's obnoxious because I not only do I say greetings in email, I use an exclamation point because I just want to set the tone right away. Whether you like it or not, it's a little bit of sunshine and stardust coming your way. Ah. And it's so funny because when people use too many exclamation points with me, I don't like it, but I definitely overuse it. I just like it. I love it. I think it's so bright and sunny. Ah. All right. That's not the first thing I wanted to say. The first thing I wanted to say was, and it kind of ties in, I've been switching to half calf. So that's important because after the greeting, that's the show idea was this is coffee time. This is for me, this is my little break in my day. I work from home and I homeschool. So now I'm chit chatting with you during my little coffee time. And I wanted to come and talk to everybody about homeschooling, try to convince a few of you to homeschool if you're not already homeschooling. And then as I came across instructional materials that I'm using or that I really, really love, that I'm passionate about, I wanted to talk to people about, and of course have them visit my store and then click to purchase. So that's all happening. So, but with coffee time, and I love coffee now, and I started drinking coffee in college, and it's just been a thing with me. At times it's been a problem, but as I've gotten older, um the nice thing is now I have to have cream in my coffee. So I just feel like I'm diluting the caffeine. I know it doesn't work like that, but today it's back to being truck driver black. And that's been happening as of late. And it's really got me wired. So here we go. But half calf. I'm doing half calf. How about you? Mm. I've been wanting to switch to tea for a while, so hopefully that happens. Okay, so that's it. We're gonna pick it up. But yeah, there's definitely giving me a little extra because it's not a half calf. I need my half calf. All right. I need my half calf. Yes. Are you guys tea or coffee? Let me know. All right. So the next thing is 10 frames are in our future. I have it on good authority. I have talked to management about this, and management says, yes, we are definitely very soon going to get an additional product into the store. And I'm super happy about that. I have had recently a few conversations about the 10 frame, just a very basic 10 frame, nothing special about it. But the conversations have been really interesting. So I think that's what we're going to do, and that's where we're going to go next. So today's story is just going to introduce us to the 10 frame because that's what we're going to be talking about. I do sense 10 frames in our future. So, also, the thing for me is I am talking a little bit about, or a lot about, you're going to hear me talking a lot about early literacy and foundational math because my child is 5, but this is a safe space for learners of all age. I would say up until the 13th grade. If you're curious about what is the 13th grade, you can ask Miss Cotton later on. Shoot me an email or pop it into the chats or comments. But yeah, I would say my range of experience is going to go from preschool to the 13th grade. But what I'm really passionate about now is my own child and homeschooling, and she is 5. So a lot of the backtracking that I'm doing and my researching and just digging through all my treasures and pulling things out, it definitely comes from that lens of early literacy and foundational math. But if your learner is older and I'm talking about something that's interesting to you, feel free to ask about an older learner. So I think that foundational math largely gets ignored. So I wanted to bring it up today and have let it have its moment. And it's just going to lead the charge for when I talk and teach about why you should be using a 10 frame, especially if you're going to be forging ahead with the Hindu Arabic numeral system that we use, and that is the number system that we use. And so it does require a bit of introduction. It is just as meaty as a language as English language arts. So we want to be really careful with how we introduce mathematics to our children. And I find as a practitioner that this is usually what has gone wrong. So if your learner's a little bit older and they are struggling with math, there's a number of reasons why that could be. A many number of reasons. But as a practitioner, I'm always interested in seeing that largely, besides the fact, factoring in variables like, just teaching styles and everything that happens when you switch from year to year to year and having to be dependent on the teacher's skill level of delivering content instruction and then having to rapidly change that, but trying to continue the concept because you have a new teacher. it's a mess. Sometimes that trips some of our learners up. But also, what trips them up is just having that poor foundation in the language of math. This is very similar to when you're teaching reading, just skipping ahead and just telling a kindergartner, you know, have at it. Here's some Shakespeare, break it down and let me know what it says. So we wouldn't do that because it just makes sense to us that there are some steps that we need to go back and cover before the kids can digest Chaucer. It's just the thing that we understand. So we break it down, and we start really, really, really with just the silly songs and rhymes and phonics and phonemic awareness and all of those really important things that are happening as we're developing literacy. But what's interesting is you just don't hear the same type of love for early numeracy, for foundational math. And you really have this sense of rushing through so that they can hurry up and get to algebra, so that they can hurry up and get to addition and subtraction and all of these wonderful things that you can do with numbers before they understand really the numbers themselves. So that is going to be sort of what we talk about. I'm going to be promoting a 10 frame, so get ready. 10 frame, 10 frame, 10 frame. I said it 3 times. You're gonna hear it in this space. It's gonna flood your timeline. You're gonna hear about it and see about it, and I think that's a good thing. So, but talk to me about how you feel about if you're in that space. How do you feel about foundational math? And if you are around a learner that's a little bit older, do you feel that they had a sufficient enough background in foundational math? Are they prepared to manipulate the numbers in the way that we find our learners are able to when they have that proper foundation in English language arts? They are able to present themselves well, effectively, expressing themselves, whether that be through the written word or the spoken word. That a person has a highly developed vocabulary and all of that stuff would be evidence of a great foundation in English language arts. So, can we say that if our kids are able to move ahead to advanced math for the older learners, or that they aren't struggling with multiplication and division, can we say, "Gee, I want to go back and look at that diet that I put my child on when it comes to their abilities in math? Did I spend enough time on that foundation? Did you introduce zero as a number? Did you have them count to 10? Did you have benchmarks for which numbers you would introduce and why?" These are things I want us to be thinking about, and we'll link them back to the 10 frame. Um, Definitely the sequence of numbers in numerical order. I wouldn't start with zero, and I didn't start with zero. We did 1 through 9 for a really long time. I really wanted her to understand something that is correct, that zero is it's not a number. So, just even in understanding that, even in just reinforcing with her 1 through 9, 1 through 9, those are the only numbers we have. 1 through 9, 1 through 9. And she sees other numbers. She sees numbers in the real world, and we have numbers all around. But just understanding that heavy foundation for math is super, super, super important. We literally just got to 12, and I'm stopping again to make a big deal out of 13. And then the next stop I'll make, oh, then I'm going to go back and I'm going to talk about the magic of 5. And then I'm going to skip ahead to another benchmark of 60 as I introduce and really drill down time on both a face clock and a digital clock. So that this is just from research, just from me evaluating curriculum from publishers for the last 10 years, and just being a teacher, somebody that was kind of born with just that heart and art for teaching. So this is what makes sense for me. I'm furiously taking notes. My daughter is my client and my muse, and she's also my lab assistant. I was going to say lab rat, but it's not correct. She's my assistant, my research assistant. So, yeah, I do. I think we need to spend a little bit more time on foundational math, just like we spend the time on the foundational literacy. You would never just put Chaucer in front of your kids. And you definitely shouldn't just move straight ahead with, all right, let's add numbers. Okay, my kid can count to 10 and that's it. They have numeracy because that often isn't the case. It often isn't the case. This is how we get to the state where, again, comparing it back to English language arts, this country is mostly functionally illiterate and they know their ABCs and they actually can read. But that bigger function of what words are for, the comprehension, and the deep meaning, that's the part they're lacking. And so that's what happens with numbers. They know their numbers, they can count, but they're often, not able to advance past algebra, past trigonometry. They won't get into calculus, and just all of this push for STEM is truly coming from our children just not really performing in that what you would call upper level math. And even before they get to upper level math, so many of our kids start struggling right around second, third grade when you want them to multiply and divide the numbers. Those concepts just become, and then the decimals and the fractions, all of that is really, really something that the children aren't, it's the Chaucer to them. You didn't take the time to really work with those numbers, really respecting the fact that this is a number system, a language on its own. So I'm putting all of that into this. And so the tool that I've been using consistently is the tool that we'll be talking about, the 10 frames. So there are 10 frames coming up. I find that it is the best tool to just really build those foundational skills that are necessary for our kiddos. What tools are you using? How are you making sure that that foundation for your learner is there, not just for the English language arts, but for the language of math? All right, so I'm going to repeat this again just to, I don't know, just read it aloud and take a little sip of my coffee. Then we'll do a little commercial break. And then I will sign off. This is my real coffee break as I am homeschooling my little one. And this is the only break she will, dare I say, allow. What can you say? She's the boss. Okay. Um, so let's see. We did 1 through 9 for a really long time. 1 through 9, 1 through 9, 1 through 9, 1 through 9, 1 through 9. How does it look? What does it mean? Let's look at it in other languages. Let's see it in nature. Just 1 through 9. And then I introduced 0. And I also made sure with my language to be very clear on the difference between a digit and a number. And that these are numbers 1 through 9, and the rest of them are digits or numbers that we can create with this magical placeholder 0. So I did do a big deal of 0. We've introduced 0, and we then made a big deal out of what happens past 9. So we exaggerated 110. So I'm wondering how you feel about that and if you'll try that. If you'll try until the learner really understands that concept of place value. If while you're counting after 9, you say 110. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 110. I wonder if you'll try that. It's going to make a really big difference in foundationally how they understand place value. And that magic zero isn't a number at all. It just lets you know truly how many tens, 110. So we use the one and the placeholder zero. All right, so it's giving you a little bit of direction, just like with words. We have punctuation and we have different markers to let the listener and the reader know this is the function of this word, and this is how I want this word to influence this word. When we're thinking about adjectives and just how language works, that's exactly what we want to do here with the math. We want to make sure they understand how these numbers work together. So I wonder if you'll try that and let me know in the comments how that works out. So you can try this right away. They don't have to be school aged, and if they are school aged, try it right away. Challenge them to, especially if they're older and they've already been influenced by a different way, it's you can still teach it that it's two tens. Two tens, how many ones? So instead of just saying 24, always introduce another way that you can say it is two tens, four ones. Because what you want to exaggerate is why we say 24. It's hyphenated, meaning abbreviated. Because who wants to walk around saying two tens and four ones? It's too much. We're going to abbreviate it. So we say 24. So we really want to make sure they have that foundation in numeracy. So I wonder if you'll try that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 110, 110, 1, 110, 2 ones, 110, 3 ones. All right. So I exaggerated that letter and excuse me, that language. And right now we're making a big deal out of 13. So this is another stopping point for us. And then we're gonna go all the way. No, then from 13, we're gonna go backwards to 5. And I'm gonna talk to her about the pattern of 5. And we're going to use um a hundreds chart for that. All right, so that's what we're going to do. This is all we have time for today. I hope you took away what you needed to take away. The secret to early math, slow down. It's just like phonics, okay? They need to be slowly introduced into concepts before you give them the more complicated concepts. By the way, this might be throwing some of you off. So here's our sponsor, the store, the Ask a Miss Cotton store. Okay, so this is what we have. And I just want to kind of talk to you about the quality of these boards. I don't know if you can see how thick this is compared to just like a sheet of paper. So this is a really nice high quality material. This is something that I actually use with my daughter. This is a social emotional learning tool and it's a daily check-in. You can check this out at lakeshorelearning.com. But here's the thing, if you go to lakeshorelearning.com, you can only buy these in sets of 30. But if you come to the Whatnot store, the Ask Miss Cotton Whatnot store, you can get these plus a dry erase marker, and of course the activity guide, a copy of the activity guide that they provide. And I even throw in all of my ideas about social emotional learning. I created an activity guide. I will include a paper copy of that activity guide with a purchase of the overflow. So this is just the overflow. This is a single board and it is a true board. You will not need to relaminate this. And I think this is such a good investment. Super, super cheap way to consistently introduce social emotional learning. And that's what we want. Okay. And then I just want to close out by saying for me, with social emotional learning, especially because it does develop the whole child. And I love this tool because that's exactly what it's doing. It's developing that whole child, meaning it's not just teaching about emotions and this is how I feel in an obnoxious way. Because I think teaching it in that type of a siloed way is obnoxious because you kind of want to think, well, you're not the only person in the world, period. And you're definitely not the only person that's feeling this way. So our children do need to understand that other people have emotions as well. This is how we develop the whole child so that they can become whole adults. And so that, we can like the communities that we live in. We can find joy around the people that we live around. So it does matter. How we educate our children matters. And when I was working with my daughter this morning, I feel like we stumbled across that as a mission statement in just me talking to her about why I'm doing this. It's important to me in the small way that I can affect the world, that I put my stamp on things that I think are effective, that are beautiful, that are sustainable, so that you'll use them over and over again. They have high value, things that help what you're doing with your child or your learner, make it easier. So I think that when we spend a little bit of time on just assuming that responsibility, teaching our children, and then using instructional materials that are effective and beautiful and gentle for our earth. I think that that's just my small way of leaving an impact, because that heart centered child is going to grow up to be a heart centered adult, and that is the world that I want to live in. All right, so this has been such a good time. Thank you all. Oh, and visit the store. And thank you all for your kind notes. I appreciate your note of encouragement. So thank you. I appreciate that from Mama from Delaware. So thank you for that. I read that, and that really, really did give me a lot of motivation. A lot of motivation. Okay, all right. Have a good one. Bye. Wait.